The mind can be a dangerous thing. It can take you to places that perhaps you don't want to go. Hi, Unreserved is back with a new series called True Grit. In the wake of the pandemic, mental health issues have really come to the fore. So hence a new series, and anchoring it in for us, we have Azran Osman-Rani, who runs Naluri. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what Naluri is about?
Sure, Cass. Well, we are a digital health program that addresses health through an integrated way. Physical health and mental health go hand in hand, but how do we use digital to make it affordable, make it accessible, and make it convenient?
So, which is why we thought that Azran would be a great host to anchor us in, because you're in a safe pair of hands, basically. He knows what he's talking about. But we're going to do a little swapperoo now, right? Because I've been through some things, and Azran's just going to guide me through. So hope it helps some of you out there too.
Great. Well, today I'm with none other than Kassandra Kassim, founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the media empire Unreserved. Let's peel the layers, Cass, through all of the hype and the glamour and the visibility of your leadership in high-profile media roles. But let's start with a specific issue that you've gone through recently, where you've been diagnosed and you've had your battles with a very aggressive form of cancer.
Yes, I had a very aggressive form of breast cancer called triple negative. Apparently only affects 10 to 15% of women who have breast cancer. They even said that chemotherapy might not actually work because it was that aggressive. So it's rather daunting, and you go into that thinking, well, this is it really. That was my thing last year, just before COVID.
Well, if you don't mind, let's take us through that first day when you were diagnosed, you received that diagnosis. How did it feel inside?
Well, when you first find the lump, you're already a bit worried. In fact, in December, when I felt something, I said to my husband, I can't deal with still grieving with daddy, dealing with the company, and deal with this too. I have no space, I said to him. And I said, anyway, maybe it's just a woman's time of the month lump. So I ignored it. In February, the lump became really big, and I thought, well, this isn't normal. And I told my sister, and we went and had it checked out. And when the doctor said it was confirmed, I think the first thought I had was, oh my God, we just buried daddy with this, barely a year before. And the second was my poor family. My husband, everyone's gone through grieving. It was a horrible year after my father died, and now we have to deal with me. It was, well, I felt numb.
I want to dive more into that event to try to understand your initial impulses and reactions versus how you moved to, how do I respond to this, and coming up with the plan that you eventually did.
Well, thank God I didn't go into that denial phase.
Okay.
We went straight to work because they wanted us to start chemo as soon as possible. So within a week, and I agreed with it. It was a very aggressive course that we were going to do. Weirdly, my heart was 10 to 15 years younger than my actual age, so they said, we can give you the strongest one, which has a good and bad thing to that. And I think my husband and I, we just looked at data, statistics. I said, let's just attack this with what's the best possible course. And I didn't necessarily want to listen to just one opinion. We listened to 3 or 4, called London, that kind of thing, before we made up our mind, and then told our doctors this is what we're going to do. If there's any time I'm going to be stubborn and stick to my guns, it's going to be now. Because all the best decisions I've made have been because I really felt 100% confident about it.
But you mentioned you skipped that denial phase. Usually what follows after denial is anger.
Yeah.
Tell me about the emotions you went through on that first day.
Of course I was angry. It just seemed really unfair to my family after my father that they had to deal with this too. We'd already spent we wanted to recover. 2019 had been horrible. We looked forward to 2020 being the better year. And this was before COVID. I channeled it by when I meditated every morning. I said to the lump, I said, you're not welcome. I don't like you. Nobody likes you. All my cells hate you, so F off. And you become really calm. I think you hit a space in anger when you're very calm. It's very clear what you need to do. And that's where I wanted to keep it. And I decided to do it one day at a time. You know, some advice I had from Margie, my coach in Singapore, she said, if you can't control it, control what you can. I looked at my diet, we tweaked stuff, we worked towards health. I became obsessed also recently with the Fitbit, pulse rate, how am I doing? So as I said, these are things that you can manage and things that you can actually improve by yourself. And to be honest, with COVID and everyone staying home, I was really blessed. And I had to count my blessings on that front too. That stress was reduced on managing with a lot of issues because the entire country was locked down.
Yeah, tell me more about that also. Someone going through cancer, someone going through having to turn around and keep a business afloat. Where do you find gratitude?
Well, in the small things. Our parents, or beyond that, they had to live in the jungle when the Japanese came invading. And it must have been pretty horrible. We are at home and Grab is delivering our food and groceries. It's not that bad. You know, so yeah, how do you find gratitude? I think it's because I'm an optimist. I always will, and there are things that you are thankful for. And it's amazing people who don't use that as an exercise, because it makes you feel better about yourself and it does make you feel better about the world.
But sometimes, no matter what our intentions are and how we plan, things may not go according to plan. I wanted you to see whether you can share some of the darker episodes in that journey.
I don't know if it was dark as much as it was overwhelming, like the debilitating effects of chemotherapy, the burns from the radiation. So I decided instead to stop thinking and just do with my hands and pick up hobbies. Like I became obsessed with meringues and baked maybe 40 or 50 because I felt on a day where I felt inside ugly that I would instead focus on creating something beautiful.
So you sit here today looking back. How do you think you've changed profoundly?
Profoundly. For the longest time after my father, I was really numb. And I was numb during the startup, and I get into a numb phase. It's just numbness or anger, because that's how I deal with stress, just by being numb, so you don't feel it. I don't need Prozac and Xanax, I do that myself naturally. But now, I can feel I'm happier, lighter, even though we're not in great shape, even though, you know, the whole world, I'm actually, because I knew I can deal with stuff. I knew I've stared death in the face, we stared ruin in the face in terms of the company, and I'm like, hey, what came out of that? We're still standing. I'm still fighting, it's cool. I can do this.
And that's so inspiring. Cass, if there's one last thing that people who look up to you, who've seen how much you've progressed, how much you've overcome, what's the one thing you'd like to share to them that they can really learn from your experience?
In a crisis, I think it's important that your environment is filled with people who will support you unconditionally because you're going through a bad time. Also, realize that strength is actually a decision, and you have to make it with your heart, mind, and soul aligned, basically. You can't, in your head, say, I'm going to be strong, but in your heart not feel it. You have to really believe it.
What you've shown us today is that being strong and that strength doesn't necessarily mean you don't have fear, you don't have doubt and uncertainty, but it's the ability to just keep going despite of those existing fears and uncertainties. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Azran.